Tuendelee na kipindi chetu cha genetics. Na leo tunaenda kwanza kusoma variation. Kipindi kilichopita kwa discuss concept za inheritance ya blood group pamoja na complementary gene. Tukamalizia na polygenic inheritance. Kipindi hicho tunaenda kwanza kusoma variations. Tukimaliza hapo tutaenda kipengele kingine. The term variation describes the difference in the characteristics shown by an organism belonging to the same natural population or species. Kwa organism wa species moja wakiwa wanatofautiana regardless parent wao ni mmoja au tofauti. Hiyo ndio inaitwa variation. Every one of billions of organism on planet Earth is unique. Kwa kila organism kuna kitu ametofautiana mwenzake. Even homozygotic twins, although genetically identical, do differ as the result of their different environmental experiences. Hata kama homozygotic twins au tunaita identical twins, yani identical twins wanafanana genetics, lakini kama ushaisikia fingerprint, unajua hizi fingerprint hizi twins mapacha wawili wanaofanana, hizi fingerprint zinakuwa zinatofautiana na zina scan tofauti. Why? It's because of the difference in environmental experiences. Yani kwamba our two identical twins wametoka kwenye yai moja and their chromosomes and genetic material they are similar, lakini wamekuwa kwenye mazingira tofauti. Kila mmoja akiwa kwenye ombu yake, unaona. Kwa hiyo amniotic fluid aliyokuwa nayo, concentration ya salt, kiwango cha chakula alichokuwa nakipata ni tofauti. Na ndio maana unaweza kukuta hata mapacha wawili, mwingine ana akili, mwingine ni mjinga darasani, lakini mapacha wanaofanana. Now if intelligence could be determined by simply looking at the genetic material, that means huyu mmoja angekuwa na akili na huyu mwingine angekuwa na akili, because intelligence is also a behavioral characteristics which is inherited. Yani we cannot only just believe kwamba intelligence is just environmental influences. No, I believe that intelligence to some extent it is inherited, because what stores memories in our head, they are neurons. Kwa mimi naamini it is inherited to some extent, unaona, lakini variation inaweza katokea hata kwa identical twins. Now variation is all the difference which exists among members of the same species. Simply, it's all the difference which exists among members of different species. Are differences among individuals of the same species. These are the differences among individuals of the same species. If variation is done to genetic differences, if variation is due to genetic differences, it's called genetic variations. And if it's due to the effect of environmental factors on the expression of genetic potentials, then it is called the phenotypic variation. Kwa kuna utofauti wa ndani na utofauti wa nje. Unaweza kukuta genotypes zinafanana lakini phenotypes zinatofautiana. Unaona? Phenotypic appearance, metabolism, fertility, mode of reproduction, behavior, learning and mental ability, and other obvious or measurable characters. Kwa hiyo hizo zote mmoja mnaweza mkama na difference za aina mbalimbali. In genetics we are concerned with heritable variation. Many of variation they are controlled by genes. Kwa hiyo tunadili na variation ambazo zinatokana na gene, kwamba zile variation za genes. In this variation tunazo of two types. There are two types, the continuous one and the discontinuous. Starting with the discontinuous variation, this is the limited form of variation which cannot change easily. Haibadiliki kirahisi, unaona. Variation in this case produces individuals showing clear-cut differences with no intermediates between them. Example of characteristics which show discontinuous variation include blood groups in humans, wings length in Drosophila. Yani blood group huwezi kumkuta eti mtu yuko katikati ya yani tukisema blood group AB ni kwa sababu ana factor A na B, lakini sio kwamba yuko pale katikati. No. Wings length in Drosophila, it's whether long au vestigial, yani haina intermediate. Melanic and light form in Bistoms betularia. Bistoms betularia au ni aina fulani ya vipepeo ambao tutaenda kuwasoma in deep kwenye evolution. Style length in Primula and sex in animals and plants. Kwa maana ukisema sex, ukishasema female ni female, yani hakuna intermediate kwamba huyu can between female and male. Yani hata kama kwenye behavioral characteristics ni kama anaongea kama female au anaongea kama male lakini ni female. Lakini so kwamba eti unaweza kusema this is in between female and male. How comes? It is impossible. If it is female, it is female. If it is male, it is male. Kama ni albino ni albino. Kama sio albino ni albino. Tongue lulling, kupindisha ulimi, tongue lulling. Unaona? Kama anaweza kulal the tongue, anaweza. Kama hawezi, hawezi. Fingerprints pia ni discontinuous variation. Yani fingerprint ya mtu mmoja na mwingine haziwezi kufanana. Characteristics showing discontinuous variations are usually controlled by one or two major genes which may have two or more allelic forms. Kama nilivyosema kwenye polygenic inheritance kwamba polygenic inheritance ndio chanzo cha kitu kinachoitwa continuous variation, ni polygenic inheritance. Polygenic inheritance inapelekea characteristics iwe haina clear cut difference. Lakini kwa zile characteristics ambazo zinakuwa controlled by one or two major genes, hizi zinakuwa zinaonyesha discontinuous variation. Unaona? So they are controlled by one or two major genes which may have two or more allelic forms, and their phenotypic expression is relatively unaffected by environmental condition. Discontinuous variation cannot be altered by environments. Haiwezi kubadilishwa na environments. Example, you cannot change your blood group by altering diet. Pia huwezi kubadilisha sex yako kwa kubadilisha chakula kwamba nile vyakula wanavyokula female ili na mimi niwe female. Discontinuous variation, that's the way it is. It is also known as qualitative inheritance. But continuous variation, these are which change over time and they are affected by environmental conditions. Unaona? Example of characteristics which show continuous variation include mass, linear dimension, kuwa mnene, kuwa mwembamba. Ukiwa na pesa unakula sana, unakuwa na kitambi. Pesa zimeisha unakonda, mabega yanainuka juu kama unakunywa gongo. Unaona bwana? Shape and the color of organs and organisms. Yaani usione tu mtu mweusi, wakati mwingine kuwa mweusi ni shida zimekubana sana. Color of organs and organisms. Height, etc. Hizo zote ni characteristics ambazo zinaonyesha continuous variation. Unaona bwana? Characteristics exhibiting continuous variation are produced by a combined effect of many genes, yani polygenes, and environmental factor. The combined effect of many genes and environmental factors. Individually, each of these genes have little effect on the phenotype, but their combined effect is significant. Kwa kila gene ina matokeo kidogo kidogo, lakini effect ya zote kwa pamoja inakuwa significant. Now causes au sources of variation. Variations zinakuwa zinatokea wapi? Na hapa tunazungumzia genetic one, hatuzungumzii environmental factors. Unaona? It will be appreciated that the result of the interaction between discontinuous and continuous variations and the environment, no two organisms will possess identical phenotypes. Hakuna organism wawili ambao watakuwa wana phenotypes zinazofanana. Replication of DNA is so nearly perfect that there is little possibility of variation occurring in the genotypes of a sexually reproducing organism. Unaona? Katika sexually reproducing organism, variation kupatikana ni mara chache sana kwa sababu the replication of DNA is nearly perfect na kuna enzymes zinazo proofread na vitu kama hivyo hapo. Unaona? Any apparent variation between these organisms is therefore almost certainly the result of environmental influences. Kwa tunavyoona variation between the asexually reproducing organism, it is probably because of environment only, but their genotype is almost the same. In the case of sexually reproducing organisms, there is ample opportunity for genetic variation to arise. Katika sexually reproducing organism, there is ample opportunity for genetic variation to arise. Two processes occurring during meiosis And the fusion of gametes during fertilization provides the means of introducing unlimited genetic variations into the population. This may be summarized as follows. Kwa hiyo hizi two processes zinapelekea unlimited number of variation kutokea. Kwanza ni crossing over. Reciprocal crossing over of genes between chromatids of homologous chromosomes may occur during process 1 of meiosis. This produces new linkage groups and so produces a major source of genetic recombination of alleles. So crossing over ni first event ambayo inapelekea a major source of variation katika organism. Number 2 is the independent assortment of chromosomes. Tulidiscuss hata crossing over kule mwanzoni na tuliona picha zake kule kwenye introduction ya genetics. Number 2 is the independent assortment of chromosomes. The orientation of the chromatids of homologous chromosome au bivalency on the equilateral spindle during metaphase 1 of meiosis determines the direction in which the pairs of chromatids move during anaphase 1. Unaona bwana? Lakini number 3 is the random fertilization of gametes. These are the 3 events. Unaona? The 2 events they are of meiosis, and then the third one is the fusion of gametes formed by meiosis. Now, a third source of variation occurs during sexual reproduction. The result of the fact that the fusion of male and female gamete is completely random. Thus, any male gamete is potentially capable of fusing with any female gamete. Unaona? With any female gamete. Kwa hiyo hivyo ndivyo ambavyo variation inakuwa inaenda. Now in the coming session tutaanza kusoma gene linkage. Tutasoma gene linkage. Tutaichambua linkage vizuri. Toka hapo tukishamaliza linkage tutaenda kwenye sex determination na sex linked diseases.